on to our next keynote address on national scale threat detection and predictive cyber defense. We once again a very warm welcome to Lieutenant General M. Unnikrishnan Nair sir, former National Cybersecurity Coordinator, Government of India. With deep expertise in cyber defense, national security, and critical infrastructure protection, he has played a key role in shaping India's cybersecurity landscape. His leadership continues to guide professionals across sectors as we navigate today's complex digital challenges. So without further ado, can we all put our hands together and welcome this wonderful gentleman who's joined us today.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's wonderful to be back here in Bangalore. I'm coming here after nearly 2 years, and it's wonderful to be back in this city. Extremely grateful to the organizers for giving me an opportunity to interact with all of you here. I'm a technology geek, and I rely on technology to meet my requirements in life, and I always felt that technology finds solutions to practically all problems which we face as citizens, as organizations. So this morning, I looked at the Google map and it said from where I was staying, it took 1 hour to reach this location. So I started my travel at 7:30, thinking that I'll reach here by 8:30, as I'd promised the Amnitan here. Technology has its challenges. I reached an intersection which was just about 500 meters from here, and it took me 30 minutes to reach from that location to this place. Now, why I'm mentioning this is that we rely a lot on technology. But the pitfalls of technology is that its application on ground is dependent on far too many other factors. I'm sure some of you at least would have read an article by the Chief of Army Staff, who's a very good friend of mine, very recently, when in Madras, in Chennai, when he spoke that the boots on ground, that is the soldiers, have to be supported by bots today, technology today. But the final call has to be taken by us as humans, be it an AI domain, and any of these emerging domains. So this is a challenge that we will face when we absorb more and more technology. So that's just an introduction. I just thought my sincere apologies for being a little late, and it was just that I was guided by technology. Okay, I spent 40 years in the Army, and I joined the Army at the young age of 16 years, going to the National Defense Academy. In fact, I've just gone back to Kerala after 45 years. So this is something I just wanted to put it across you, that I was in a domain where I was handling technology. We're looking at networks, we're looking at information systems, we're looking at a whole lot of technology-oriented platforms. And so since I got commissioned in '84, there was nothing called cyber at that point of time. In fact, my first introduction to cyber was only in about mid-90s, when I suddenly came across a term called cyber. And the reason why this emerged was because we were having networks which were connecting all of us. Now, look at the way the dramatic transformation of our society has happened since the mobiles have come in. And look at the world today, in our Indian society today. Today, all of us are connected wherever we go. So we have one of the largest digital public infrastructure in the world today. And this digital public infrastructure encompasses so many aspects, like I think he mentioned about networks, your IT, hardware, software, which are there as part of it. But the backbone is actually the networks. You have your own, every sector has got its own devices. IoTs, machine-to-machine devices today. Look at the EVs which are coming up today. They're all connected vehicles. Look at the EV infrastructure itself. So our lives are oriented around the digital connect. And are we secure? I'll give you a few statistics. I just picked it up. As on 29th of July, we had 1.218 billion subscribers. This is a Telecom Regulatory Authority of India data. And we have 1.17 wireless subscribers and 47 million wired subscribers. We have 1.16 billion wireless mobile subscribers. We have 7.85 million 5G subscribers today. And we have about 79 million M2M devices. Now look at the quantum of it. And no other country today, perhaps China has got, but No other country, including the developed nations today, have this kind of connect. And we have many states which are absorbing this technology, like, small states like Delhi, and Himachal Pradesh, Kerala. They are they lead. I heard the DGP mentioning about Karnataka. Karnataka is one of the leaders in absorbing digital technology. We have 4G and 5G subscribers, which are tremendous, and the 5G rollout of ours in our country has been one of the fastest in the world. We started our journey only in October 22, and we have today nearly 4.69 lakh BTS towers all over the country, and nearly 99% of our districts are connected on 5G. And this is a remarkable achievement of our nation, something which I think we all need to be proud of as citizens. Now, the challenge is that when we started this journey, we did not consider security to be an aspect which we need to factor in. So many of our networks, many of the applications which we use, the storage, wherever you store it in the cloud or on-premise, you have, there are, I think he mentioned about standard specifications. There are challenges in that. The way we use, and are we as citizens aware of the best cyber hygiene practices? So we have an ecosystem full of challenges. There are a lot of measures which have been undertaken. I'll touch upon it a little later. So we have a large digital ecosystem, very large network, applications. The world's largest data generation is in our country today. And if you just Google, you will realize that more than 45% of the digital transactions which we carry out, which in the world today are in our country. I think there is no other country which carries out so many digital transactions. And you look at the figures of the NPCI, the volume of transactions which take place is unprecedented. It touches nearly, I think, $10 billion worth of, that's the value of our transactions which we carry out every day through the digital domain. And do we have threat actors threatening all this? You heard the DGP mentioning about cyber crimes. But I look at it, when I was a National Cybersecurity Coordinator, I looked at it from a national perspective. There are state actors threatening it. There are non-state actors threatening it. And let's go back to a few months back when we faced an unprecedented crisis in our country, when we had an incident which took place in Pahalgam, when we had lost innocent civilians who were on a holiday there, and rightly our country responded. So we had an operation launched, and from 22nd of April, we had such severe attacks on our digital public infrastructure that it was something which was unprecedented. We had DDoS attacks which are focused on several sectors like financial sector. They are focused on the governmental ecosystem. They are focused on the defense ecosystem. And they were so severe. And in addition, we had non-state actors, groups which are working from all over the world, which are threatening, trying to address, bring down many of our governmental services. In fact, we have large dependency on our digital network for providing services to citizens. I'm sure all of you will understand this, that all our banking transactions today, all our transportation, everything is done through digital domain. So all these domains, and so also the armed forces, the health sector, they all, energy sector, all of them are digitally connected. So all of them came under such severe attacks from 22nd April, after our Honorable Prime Minister mentioned that we will give an appropriate response. I'm sure you would have read it on social media, on print media, everywhere. So the Prime Minister mentioned that we will respond, and then started such severe attacks on our ecosystem. But as citizens, can I ask any one of you, did you ever face a challenge to the services which were provided by the government? Did any of our financial transactions get impacted? I don't think so. If somebody can tell me that this service was down for a little while, yes, I accepted that there could have been minor aberrations, but did it affect us as citizens? Did any of our energy sectors, energy grids, health sector get impacted despite all these attacks which were there? Now that shows that our entire cybersecurity community was actually playing a very key role. They were able to defend such severe attacks which were happening in our country. And I actually should compliment the entire community of cybersecurity professionals, the cyber warriors, our citizens. Actually, not a single service got impacted. Yes, I can actually say that some services which were, essential services which were to some of the state governments, etc., did suffer. But then, for me, I can tell you that there is nothing called perfect cybersecurity today. Now, I as an individual feel that what I speak on my mobile or what activity I do on my laptop or computer systems is visible to somebody else. That's a premise with which I operate. Because the entire landscape is so difficult to control, check. So it's essential that the cybersecurity professionals, who are many of you sitting here, there are organizations like, of the MHA, of the DOT, of the MeitY. I'm sure you have heard of CERTIN, you have heard of NCIIPC, the I4C. So many sectoral regulators, they all were in a position. Look at the CXOs of our National Stock Exchange, the NPCI, the SEBI. They had actually worked 24/7, and we protected our cyber ecosystem to such an extent that the impact was not known to our citizens. I think all of us here should require a compliment for it, actually. And I actually felt very happy that we were in a position to actually thought many of these, something which I think we as citizens need to be aware of. Okay, but does that stop attackers from attacking you? It will continue. Such threats will continue to happen. In fact, the adversaries, be it state actors, non-state actors, know that you are alive, you are aware, you have the technology prowess to protect your ecosystem. And this digital ecosystem is a domain which can get targeted, impacted through technology. Again, I mentioned to you about the pitfalls. So he mentioned about artificial intelligence. Now, there are so many programs, small little software programs, which can be written to identify what vulnerabilities you have, how to exploit it today. You look at the digital fakes which are there, voice cloning he mentioned. Now, these are the challenges which are going to continue in our society. I will not touch on misinformation, disinformation, but that influences our minds too. So all this is possible in our ecosystem. So we will have these threat actors continuing to, their attempts to impact on our digital ecosystem. And this is where I wanted all of you here to be aware that it has to be a 24/7, 365 days activity. There is nothing called, okay, that particular threat is over, and I'm sure you all are aware that Honorable Prime Minister mentioned that Op Sindoor is not finished. It will continue. So we need to protect our digital ecosystem. And it is a national security imperative for us. Like he mentioned about soldiers not being trained, unable to protect our territorial sovereignty. Now, if we don't have our cyber warriors protecting our digital landscape, we will get impacted. It will have an impact on our society. Today, all of our services virtually are dependent on the digital domain. So it is essential that you, as part of whichever sector you are, focuses on the cyber security ecosystem, and make sure that they are given the requisite funding, attention, skilling, training. The ecosystem is changing so dramatically today that if you are trained on a particular aspect of cybersecurity, it will become outdated in no time. So it's essential that we continue to update the skills of those professionals. This is something which I just thought I will tell you. AI-powered cyber attacks, ransomware, I think it was mentioned by the DGP too. Supply chain, there are so many vulnerabilities in our procurement systems today. Like in the governmental procurement systems, we go on a, L1 model. The lowest bidder gets that particular thing. So security is now, in our minds when we look at procuring a system. But today, the society has become aware of all this, and there are a lot of steps being taken to protect this aspect too. There are state-sponsored attacks. There are state-sponsored attacks today. So there are nations which are inimical to our interests. They see the growth which we are, our economy is actually so vibrant today, and I think in a couple of years we'll become the third largest economy. Now, if that is the kind of progress we are going to achieve, there are interested parties who try and negate this. You all know about the geopolitical situation. I don't have to mention this. You see it on social media every day. There are so many challenges which our society is going to face because of the geopolitical situation, the conflicts which are looming large. Supply chain challenges will continue to be there. Something which we need to be, and the only solution to it is that can we become self-reliant, Atmanirbharta? Can we do something like this? But it's very difficult to achieve self-reliance in a sector like the digital ecosystem because the components, the various systems are coming from various parts of the globe today. So at the governmental level, several initiatives have been taken to make sure that at least our strategic systems are protected through having products which are trusted. So all these are some of the initiatives which the government has taken. Okay. For personal, citizen-facing applications, which the DGP was alluding to on cybercrime, etc., what comes to our mind as citizens, impacting on us all, is actually cybercrime. Now, this is something which each one of us get impacted because today we are all part of the digital connect. All of us are carrying smartphones. All of us are using smartphones for carrying out all these financial transactions, business transactions, everything today. Now, if I ask you, how many of you in this hall, if you are using an Android device, how many of you know the Android, the operating systems, which operating system do you have? Do you have an idea? Whether it is Android 12, 13, 14, do you have an idea today? And many of these operating systems may be outdated with the OEMs not providing you the requisite support. I'm sure you also know that the widely used operating system which we have for our computers, our IT sector is Microsoft. The Windows 10 is also it will stop getting support by the OEM within a short period of time. Now, these are the challenges which we are going to face. And as citizens, as organizations, as commercial entities, enterprises, are we aware of all this? So it's essential that today the industry, both private and public, needs to be aware of all these challenges. And they need to keep upgrading their IT infrastructure, the OT infrastructure. Now, the OT infrastructure has got a little more of challenge because many of them would be legacy systems, which like power generation plants. So today we have power generation plants, which some of them are still based on Windows XP platforms. Now you can't change it, but you require that to continue their generation. So the point is that we need to be very clear that what can be addressed, and there will be vulnerabilities, but can we have that resilience to identify the vulnerability, stop it, and probably restart it? If you get impacted, can you actually restore the systems? So some of the steps, as since I've worked in this domain, I just thought that some of these best practices. Can the chief information security officers of yours, they should be aware of the entire digital landscape of yours. They should know which device, which application. In fact, I would go to the extent of saying which encryption algorithm is being used. He should have full visibility, and he should know what is going to be threatened, what is not. And in your business, there are third-party applications which are there as part of it. Now, you also generate data. Where is this data stored? Does it stay within the country as per the DPDP Act? I'm sure you are aware of all this. Now, does the DPDP Act, while you say that your data is stored within the country, the compute or the power of that particular data which you are holding is going outside. For computational purposes, it's going outside the country. Or maybe the logs are going outside. Now, how is your model working out? These are things which your CXOs should actually know. You should have the entire visibility of the assets. And all transactions which take place should be verified. And these are all automated steps which are there today. There are AI tools. Like, you mentioned about, there are mule accounts today. I'm sure you will, if you just Google it, you'll see mule accounts. There are AI tools being, which can detect these mule accounts. Audits. Now, these are important aspects. While you just say audits are just for compliance, it's not for compliance. They are big steps which are actually to facilitate your management of organizations to see how safe is your entire cyber ecosystem. So internal audits, external audits, they're all essential. You need to have cyber response teams. If there is a threat and it's impacted your business, can you restore it in a short time? So do you have adequate backups? These are things which need to be looked at. Rehearsals and training are touched upon. And finally, you need to have motivated teams which are working. And this is something which we need to work on. There are a lot of governmental efforts which have gone in this direction. Like, I'll give you a small example of cybersecurity was not figuring in the allocation of rules of business for quite some time. So last year, in September, the government came out with clear-cut responsibilities on allocation of rules of business. So it states that cybersecurity, insofar as law and order is concerned, is the Ministry of Home's responsibility. As far as telecom networks are concerned, it's the DOT's responsibility. You could actually see this is an open source document which is there, allocation of rules of business by the government. And the MeitY will be responsible insofar as the IT laws are concerned. And the overall strategic direction and coordination will be done by the National Security Council Secretariat. So that's my previous office. So that's how the entire allocation of rules of business have actually been promulgated. Supply chain. I touched upon this, and there are a lot of steps which have been taken to make sure that the components are used in our networks, telecom networks are coming from trusted sources. They're all trusted products, and there is a verification mechanism which is there. So they go right till the component level. Okay. R&D. I'm sure a lot of funding support for cybersecurity has started. Very recently, both MeitY, DST, the Department of Science and Technology, they all come out with a lot of cybersecurity initiatives. They are all available for academic institutions, for organizations, for companies, startups to engage so that they develop products to meet the requirements which are emerging. Quantum. Now, there is a lot of concern on quantum. Now, what will get impacted when quantum computers become reality? In fact, they have already become a reality today. What will get impacted? So, all our communication today, be it mails, be it personal mails, official mails, your financial transactions, they're all encrypted. Now, many of these encryption algorithms will come under threat if the quantum computers actually, their speed of functioning is much faster, so they get, this algorithms come under threat. So there is a lot of effort to have post-quantum encryption algorithms developed. You again go into MeitY site or DST site, there are a lot of initiatives which are being taken. AI. Now this is a major challenge where all of us today are impacted by it. Voice cloning, deep fakes. Now, can we identify the original document? It's a challenge. So this is something which we have to work as a collective. In fact, whether it is ethical, non-ethical, all these are a lot of discussions, debates taking place. Now, I mentioned about indigenous systems which are there. So finally, to have a good digital backbone, we need to have indigenous design development of electronic systems, right from the component level. So this is what the government is actually attempting to do. I'm sure you all are aware of the chip developmental efforts which are taking place, multiple ventures which are on. In addition, I'm sure you're all aware that many of our electronic systems are also dependent on global navigation systems, like the GPS, like the GLONASS, like the Beidou systems. So we are also having the indigenous NAVIC system. Actually, a lot of activity takes place here in Bangalore on these domains. Talent scouting and skill development. This is a major issue. Now, do we have talent? In fact, since I've been working on this domain for a long time, I have this particular feeling that we have an abundance of talent in this domain today. And we have the challenge is in identifying these right people, connecting them to the various requirements today, and making sure that they work for you. There is an abundance of talents. And one of the reasons why our cybercrime rate is actually increasing is because many of these talented people today are not looking at positive usage of digital technology, but they are looking at it from a negative aspect. And that's why many of them are getting involved in cyber scams. So this is where we need to focus on a little more. Standards and certifications, which he mentioned. Now, standards and certifications, there are a lot of measures which are being adopted, but the challenge again is that today, every device, be it from the health sector, be it from smart cities, be it a CCTV camera. So you have multiple sectors which are involved, which are getting connected to the digital landscape. So can we have one common standard, basic standard of cybersecurity for a device to join a network? So this is now the effort. The DOT is actually promoted, the Department of Telecommunications, already working out on a common standard for connecting devices to the networks. Within the ecosystem, every sector regulator has to identify what kind of minimum standards and certifications are required. And the entire responsibility actually will flow through the MeitY, because they have the legal provisions for while, if there are any violations, they can actually take them. And so also some of the sector regulators like the RBI or the SEBI, they can actually deal with it. There are reference frameworks which have already been promulgated to show what is the basic minimum cybersecurity standard which are required. So these are some of the measures which the government has taken. I think he mentioned about zero trust architecture. He mentioned about security by design. These are some of the other initiatives which, as entrepreneurs, as commercial organizations, we need to adopt. And I always felt that if a management of an organization gets involved in cybersecurity, in fact, I've been vociferously mentioning this, that in the annual reports of every organization today, cybersecurity needs to be part of it. At least the way the audits are carried out, the challenges which have been detected, these are some of the steps which can actually improve our cybersecurity posture. And this is the city from where actually our digital connect actually started. And I think this city, through such conferences and seminars, need to actually identify a way ahead for the challenges which we are going to face when technology becomes more demanding. It will actually have a major impact on our society. So I would request all of you here to make use of such conferences, seminars, and you should have more discussions, including some of those on specific topics like quantum. How many of these encryption algorithms will get impacted? Now, do we have visibility to these encryption algorithms? Can we identify them first? Now, these are things which we need to now start on. So there are a lot of governmental initiatives, but I think it needs to start with the society. Mentioned about awareness. Now, as citizens, are we aware of the digital connect? So we need to spread the awareness amongst our public on what are the pitfalls of having a smartphone, digital transactions, etc., etc. This is something which we need to work on. It's a choice. I mean, it's a mandatory requirement of ours for future. It's like normal civic sense or rules of traffic today, no traffic rules. So cyber hygiene aspects should become part and parcel of our lives. That has to happen when we are actually digital connected. So I'm sure your meeting for your conference today will facilitate, and these are steps which are required to be taken. And there are people like us who have been practitioners in this domain, and we are there to guide you or mentor you wherever you're required. So I'm sure this will be a productive session for each one of you here, and we will become more secure, more robust, and more cyber resilient through such meetings and conferences. Thank you, and Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, sir, for that insightful presentation. May I request Navneethan, sir, to do the honor of felicitating him with a small token of our appreciation for his presence today and for also his keynote address, and taking us through the national scale threat detection and predictive cyber defense, and also how all of us play our own little roles in maintaining cybersecurity.